Hi, welcome to the Movie Review Mom YouTube channel. You found it. You're here. I'm so glad. And if you're a returning subscriber, yay, thank you so much. I really appreciate your support. As you know, my goal is to give you the heads up on filmmaking quality and content so that you can make the best decision as to whether or not you want to spend time or money or both watching a specific film. Now, normally I do feature films. However, I also like to review documentaries as they come out. And usually the filmmakers send me a copy before. And so that's what this is about today. The film that I'm reviewing today is called 26 to 2 to Life. This inspirational documentary premieres in select theaters on September 22nd, 2023, and then it'll go to streaming in various places. Now, if I were to give this movie a rating, I'd say maybe PG-13 because of the content. I'll give you some tips for parents here in just a few minutes. The film is an hour and 30 minutes, and my overall movie review mom grade is an A. I really enjoyed this film. So let me give you an overview in a nutshell, and then I'll point out things I liked and did not like, as well as offer tips for parents, themes worth talking about, and recommendations for some other films that are sort of similar. All right, you ready? Here we go. In a nutshell, the San Quentin Prison Marathon has an unconventional route. 105 dizzying laps around a crowded prison yard. 26 to 2 to Life is a new documentary that tells the story of incarcerated men who are members of the 1,000 Mile Club, the prison's long distance running club, which is great that they have that. They train all year for this 26 to 2 mile race. And for the men who take their places at the starting line on a cool, sunny November morning, completing the marathon means more than an entree into the elite group of athletes. It's a chance to be defined by more than their crimes. Cheering them on is a small staff of volunteer coaches and veteran marathoners who train with the runners throughout the entire year. The bonds that they forge on the track create a community that transcends prison politics and extends beyond the prison walls as members are released. 26 to 2 to Life is a story of transformation, definitely, and second chances for sure. The film offers a rare glimpse into a world out of bounds as the men navigating life sentences seek redemption and freedom, or something like it. The film was directed by Christine Yu. It has already received several nominations and wins from various film festivals. So congratulations to the team that made this film. So here's a list of some of the things that I really liked about it. First of all, it's fascinating to see the inside of the San Quentin prison. It was famous. While I was growing up, I just heard a lot about it for some reason. I was so impressed with how supportive and respectful the non-prisoners were with the runners who were serving life sentences. And the poster for this movie mentions that this film shows dignity and grace for these prisoners. There's no mocking, laughing, or anything of the kind. We get to hear from the prisoners as well as from one of their wives. The rap songs that were selected for various scenes included lyrics that perfectly matched the moment. Now, some of the lyrics are a little bit rough, but it's not F-bomb laden or anything like that. They tried to make it pretty clean. We hear the inmates talk about their crimes and what landed them in prison, which is very sobering and heartbreaking. None of them said they were innocent and that they didn't belong in jail. Instead, they admitted their mistakes and they showed how they were trying to become better men. And that was so great to see. We also get to see some of the prisoners given an early release from their sentences, run the Boston Marathon, in fact, get a job and learn to live in the world with integrity. And I love that. I love that so many prisoners finally valued education enough to work hard to receive their GED while in prison. Well done. Now, we hear that story many times, but this movie allows us to see some of those people as they are working towards that goal. And it's really great to hear about their experiences. We also get to see one of the prisoner's son get a sense of satisfaction when his father finally apologizes to him for all of the wrong things that he did, which resulted in getting life in prison, preventing him from being there for his son while his son was growing up. So that was really touching. And more than anything, the film does an excellent job of humanizing prisoners who have murdered and done other heinous crimes, but are now trying to recreate their life. There's a call to legislators to revisit the laws that prevent reformed prisoners from being released earlier. It's also shocking to learn that the prisoners don't own their own running shoes, but are only allowed to borrow them from the state. One more jab or reminder to them that they aren't free, that they are prisoners. And that's heartbreaking to see as you begin to, fall in love with these prisoners and at least feel more endeared toward them as you learn about them and their lives. So it's a combination of an underdog sports movie and a prison reform film, I think. So if you'd like to know more about the featured 1,000 Mile Club or donate to the cause or send them your shoes, your tennis shoes to borrow or to keep, I should say, check out 1000mileclub.com. Now, with all of that praise, there were just a couple of things that I didn't like or just thought could have been done better or differently. For example, we have seen this kind of film before to drive sympathy for prisoners in an attempt to speak to lawmakers to make changes. But usually it's because the laws need to be changed, at least have a renewed conversation about them. And then we don't really learn much about prison life inside the prison so much because the film mainly focuses on the yard outside where the inmates run. We see some other prisoners kind of, moseying around or just hanging out there, but we don't really get to see a whole lot of their rooms, their meals, and what else they do, other than really focusing on this is the thing that they do. They want to run and qualify for the Boston Marathon as a big goal if they could ever get out of prison. Let me give you some tips for parents. As I mentioned, the prisoners do talk about the crimes that they committed, including murder, drug distribution, robbery, etc. And there is some light profanity, but otherwise it's uplifting and family friendly if you want to gather older children and talk about what they could do that would land them in prison and how to avoid that, but also how to show kindness to those who have been released back into the world. All right, so some of the themes that are illustrated obviously are hope, redemption, hard work, persistence, and freedom. So whenever I watch films, I always take notes, and specifically I'm looking for funny lines or interesting lines just to share them with you so you can get a little taste or flavor of the film. And so there's a line spoken by Franklin Rona, and he says, he's one of the coach volunteers, and he says, "Is there a better punishment than running? It's every other sport's punishment. Go run 10 laps." And I thought that that was a really good point, that here these prisoners want to run because they're being punished being in prison, and that's a positive outlet for them. I also wrote down a bunch of interesting lines, and all of them can be found on my written review at moviereviewmom.com. So at the very beginning of the movie, the first thing we see on the screen are these words by Lao Tzu, who says, "The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step." And I thought that was a perfect quote for this film. Now, there's a warden who says, "Love and respect yourself and others." And so we're hearing lots of positive things going on in the jail. There is some reference of some of the negative things, but the movie really does try to focus on the positive. Franklin Rona also says, quote, "We all make mistakes, and hopefully we learn from our mistakes and go forward." And that's absolutely what this movie is illustrating. People who have recognized they made mistakes, did wrong, deserve to be in jail, and are trying to make changes in their lives. And then a prisoner said this line, None of us are the same person we were 20 years ago. And you definitely believe that as you're watching this. You hear these guys talk about their crimes, but you're seeing guys who seem like they could just, be next to you in the grocery store. And that is touching as well. All right, so let me share 3 films with you that I highly recommend. The first is my absolute favorite prison movie. Now, I don't know how many people have a favorite prison movie. This is also on my top 10 of all lists and probably in my top 3, really. It's called The Shawshank Redemption. It came out in 1994 and surprisingly was written by Stephen King. No, it's not a horror. It is the best illustration of hope that I have seen in a film. It's so well done. Fantastic performances, just a classic. It's a must watch. Add it to your watch list if you haven't seen it. And then a couple of other prison movies. Now, these are all feature films, not documentaries. But The Longest Yard came out in 1974. And then the other one also takes place inside a prison. Back in 1980, a movie came out called Brubaker, starring Robert Redford. And we actually got to see inside of a real prison. It's actually in Utah, right at the point of a mountain, which I have driven past a bunch of times. And I think of that movie every time I drive past it when I'm in the state of Utah visiting relatives or attending conferences or whatever I'm doing there. Anyway, it's also really well done. Check all of those out. They're riveting, they're humane, and respectful. All right, that's it. I hope that my movie reviews help you decide where you want to spend time and money watching films. If they are helpful, comment down below, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe. Help me to grow my little channel. Have a fantastic day. Run over to Instagram and you can follow me there as Movie Review Mom, but also as my author name, my real name, Trina Boice. And when you get a minute, go over to my Facebook group called, you guessed it, Movie Review Mom. Bye for now.